Sundays are good in my world. Finer days are few. Friends stop in, time goes by. Oh, hello. I'm Lawrence the Tiger. I always seem to have that song on my mind just before you arrive. Friends stop in, time goes by. I sing a song or two. I know I'm not the best singer in the world, but it certainly is fun to sing. Maybe you sang along with me. I'll put some water on for tea. I keep all my favorite teas in this jar. What kind of tea shall I have today? Oh dear, this won't do. I can't read the labels on the tea bags without my glasses. I'm always looking for my glasses. I'm an intelligent tiger, but I can be a little absent-minded. Now, where could those glasses be? Why, look at that! My glasses are hanging from the chandelier. Now, why on earth did I leave them there? Oh well, they're found now. I can read the labels on the tea bags. Lotus tea sounds like just the thing. That's the kettle. The water I put on the stove has come to a boil. I'll be right back. Hello again. I'm glad you're back. The lotus tea is wonderful. I'm just about to go upstairs to sit in my favorite chair. It looks like any comfy chair, but there's something magical about it, because every Sunday evening I find a picture book on it. Sundays are good in my world. I go up to my favorite chair, and a book is waiting there. Let's see what my favorite chair has for us this evening. The title of the book is Bata. I wonder what a bata is. Let's read together. Oh, for heaven's sake, I left my glasses downstairs. I can't read tonight's book if I don't have my glasses. Not to worry. I remember exactly where I left them. Hello again. My glasses weren't where I thought they were. Apparently, I hung them up with the kitchen cups. Let's look at the cover of our picture book. Here's the title, Bata, and here's a big, beautiful tree. Beneath the tree, there are two little creatures sitting on the grass. I bet you those are batas. Bata. Batas help things grow. Grow and grow and grow. Batas are a big help in the garden. Flying poop dragons help fertilize the ground. Look out, batas! Once a bata tried to make a rock grow. Nothing happened. This carrot does the carrot dance. Some batas are afraid of bugs. Batas watch over the garden at night. Best acorn. And now we know a thing or two about batas. What a lovely book! Oh, I'm sorry. I always get sleepy after a good book. I'm glad you visited. I don't know exactly who you are, but I know when you're here, and I feel like we're friends. I'm just going to rest my eyes for a moment. Good night.
This doesn't look like Lawrence's neighborhood at all. I may have taken a wrong turn. Leonard the tiger is on his way to visit his brother Lawrence. I should call Lawrence to tell him I'm delayed. Lawrence is meditating. Hello. Oh, I see. And no idea where you are? Well, perhaps you're just on the wrong side of town. Do you see anything that might give me a clue where you are? Don't worry, Lawrence. I'll find you. In the meantime, the desert is powerful and even instructive in a spiritual sense. Leonard has such a knack for losing his way, and he winds up in the strangest places. It's very hot in the desert, but Leonard is not discouraged. He continues walking. After a while, Leonard spots an unusual signpost. The arrows don't have the names of roads or cities. They have the names of people on them. Good luck! One of the arrows points to Lawrence's house. Leonard begins walking in that direction. It's almost midnight. Lawrence decides to watch a movie on TV. Bad luck. The television is acting up again. I won't be able to watch anything. A late-night prowl around the neighborhood then, says Lawrence. He notices his neighborhood is unusually quiet. It's also very dark. There are no lights on in the houses, and the street lamps are all out. It's rather spooky. Good thing I have my flashlight with me. Only one house has lights on. Lawrence doesn't remember seeing this house before on his evening walks. He feels drawn to the place. Despite an intimidating face painted on the basketball hoop in the yard. Lawrence nervously studies the hoop as he walks toward it. He jumps when it says, "You're late for the show. Hurry inside." Just then, Lawrence hears a scream from the house. Someone is in terrible distress from the sound of it. Lawrence hurries toward the house to see what he can do. He squeezes through a rip in the chain-link fence. As he approaches the house, he hears growls and more screams. But he feels foolish when he looks through the window. It's only a movie. Someone has set up a movie projector and a screen. They're showing a horror movie in the parlor. Hoping to slip away unnoticed, Lawrence turns from the window. He's startled to see a huge, one-eyed creature in a shroud standing directly behind him. The giant picks Lawrence up and carries him into the house. Lawrence apologizes for peeping in the window. The giant is silent. He's carried into the room where the movie is showing. The projector is rickety and covered with cobwebs. And the movie is playing for an audience of empty chairs. At a lit-up stage mirror, a man is applying powdery makeup. "Where have you been, Blorg One?" he scolds the giant. "You have to mind the projector." But the strange man's eyes light up when he sees Lawrence. "How wonderful! You found a late arrival." Lawrence introduces himself. "I'm Lawrence the Tiger." "I know exactly who you are," the man responds good-naturedly. So, allow me to introduce myself. I am Count Mummy von Wolfenstein, and this is my movie mausoleum. The movie mausoleum, moldy masterpieces of the macabre, monsters, mayhem, and midnight movie malfeasance. Tonight's feature is Night of the Bat. A relative of mine played the bat. Will you watch it with us? "I had hoped to watch a movie tonight," says Lawrence. "Excellent. We have a full house tonight, but I will find a seat for you." Lawrence is puzzled by this statement. The Count finds a seat next to a second Blorg that had been sitting in the shadows. "Sit here next to Blorg 2. Lawrence is an easygoing and friendly fellow and no stranger to unexpected turns of events. He settles in to watch the movie. A vampire bat has been terrorizing the residents of a remote mountain village. The vampire bat has been tricked into straying too far from its crypt to get back before sunrise. The architect of this deception is a vampire hunter of great renown, the fearless Dr. Porky Van Helsing. The vampire bat makes its way back to its crypt, but Porky Van Helsing is waiting. There is a big showdown as the sun rises. In the end, Van Helsing is victorious. Count Mummy rushes to the front of the room and resumes his hosting. "Drat," he says under his breath, "Porky Van Helsing wins again." As Count Mummy speaks, a large spider makes its way down from the ceiling on a shimmering thread. The spider says it wants to come down and tell a joke. Count Mummy is reluctant. "I love a good joke, but you are a purple gravedigger, the most venomous species of spider in the world. Do you promise not to bite me if I let you come the rest of the way down?" The spider promises and inches its way further down the thread. It starts its joke. A vampire, a mummy, and a werewolf walk into a bar. But before the spider can finish, Count Mummy's tongue shoots out like a frog's would and pulls the spider back into his mouth. "What's the matter?" the Count says with a smirk. "I didn't promise not to bite him." In the yard, the basketball hoop says, "That's all for tonight, movie fiends. Come back next Saturday when the Count will present Zombie Caveman." Blorg 2 claps loudly, and Lawrence joins in. Count Mummy von Wolfenstein takes a few bows. Lawrence senses it's time to leave. Lawrence is shown to the door. "I hope we meet again," Count Mummy says as Lawrence heads out. What an interesting old gentleman, Lawrence thinks, though I do hope that the bit with the spider was just a magic trick. Leonard has still not arrived when Lawrence gets home. Lawrence brushes his teeth and goes to bed. On Sunday evening, a new picture book appears on Lawrence's favorite chair. He senses that his invisible visitors have arrived, and he reads aloud to them. But not without searching for his glasses, which turned up on the shower nozzle in the bathroom. The shower nozzle? What was I thinking? This evening's book is about batas again, but this one is about what batas do underwater. The batas are friends with fishes and frogs and pollywogs and everything else that grows in water. The book says that some ocean batas are as large as whales. They fill the sea with their positive vibes. At the end of the book, the batas wave goodbye, wishing everyone happiness and peace. Lawrence says goodnight to his guests.
Count Mummy's Movie Mausoleum.
Baby, now swing your honey, go around and around and out, and lift, and you don't fall down. Right to your honey, and right on around, right and lift, go around the ring and meet that lady, that pretty little thing, promenading up to the two, and right back home like you always do. Then all the way around and lift and lady.
Lawrence likes to look for unusual items in thrift shops and secondhand stores. He always finds something curious. He spots a rusty metal box with a handle on top. He wonders what's inside it. He opens the box. Inside is a disheveled record collection and several small magazines. The records are dusty but seem in fairly good condition. There are handwritten notes on loose paper. It's plain that these records belong to a square dance enthusiast. The magazines are all about square dancing. Lawrence doesn't know the first thing about square dancing. On folded sheets of yellow paper, someone has typed out detailed dance instructions for songs. The records have been cataloged and stored between cardboard dividers. It's just the sort of random discovery Lawrence loves. He pays $25 for the box and everything in it. At home, he cleans the records up and returns them to the metal box. He plans to listen to all of them. While the records play, Lawrence looks through the magazines. These instructions are much too complicated for me. I could never do this. He sees photos of popular dancers and reads articles about country musicians. He looks at ads for country record labels and square dancing accessories. The next day, Leonard calls. Leonard's lost in the desert looking for Lawrence's house, but he's excited about an abandoned church he's found. Leonard finds the church fascinating. He wondered what it's doing in the middle of nowhere. It's been vandalized. Paintings and statues are gone from their places. Animals have made nests in the pews. One can still make out saints and angels on the ceiling. The style of painting is interesting. I'd like to spend a day here before I get back on the road to your place. Leonard says he's seen strange lights in the hills. I think they might be UFOs. I could ask them for directions to your place. Maybe they could give me a lift, too. Be careful about accepting rides from UFOs, advises Lawrence. Remember last time. The next day, Lawrence gets a surprise visit from Count Mummy von Wolfenstein. Pardon me, but I'm a gregarious fellow, and Blorgs 1 and 2 aren't much for conversation. You seem like a nice chap. Lawrence invites the Count in for tea. still wanting to make up for peeking in his window the other night. The two hit it off and talk for hours. Count Mummy talks of his days as a stage magician. Lawrence tells stories of his own younger days as a gondolier on the canals of Bruges. "I'm curious," Lawrence says. "Last Saturday you asked me to sit, and you said there weren't many empty seats." "But the chairs were all empty." Count Mummy shakes his head amiably. "Those seats weren't empty, Lawrence. There were ghosts in them. They visit me every Saturday night. They don't say much, but they want to see a scary movie, and I am glad to show them one." It reminds Lawrence of the mysterious visits he receives on Sunday evenings. He shares how he is visited by what he's certain are invisible children every week. "I can't hear or see them, but I know that they're there." Count Mummy nods. "And you greet them and sing a song or two, and then you read them a story? From a book you found on your favorite chair?" "That's correct. Count Mummy, how do you know all of this?" "I know because I watch you every Sunday on my television set." When he was a young tiger, Lawrence inherited a nice sum of money and a house in Bruges. He bought a gondola and sold rides on the canal to tourists. He didn't need the money, but he liked to be around people and entertain them. He told his passengers the city's history and pointed out interesting sights. He even sang for them as he guided the festive boat between the buildings. On some days, he set off in the gondola alone. Steering the gondola helped him to think and dream his dreams for the future. The city of Bruges offered many comforts and pleasures. It was full of museums and galleries and cafes. Lawrence got up early every morning. He enjoyed the hum of the electric clock as he ate his breakfast. He drank hot Belgian coffee as he read the morning paper. Then he would drive to the bakery and buy a fresh loaf of bread for later. He had a little yellow car, and it took him all sorts of places. At night, the city of Bruges was different than it was during the day. Another side of it was revealed. At night, Bruges reminded Lawrence of the paintings of René Magritte. It became a place of mystery and confounding contradictions. It wasn't unusual to catch glimpses of otherworldly creatures above the rooftops. It was whispered that the city was run by a cabal of immortal 12th century alchemists. Lawrence was no stranger to this nocturnal face of Bruges. He had encounters with magical creatures that could only be described as adventures. Take, for example, the night he met a canal dragon. He'd taken his gondola to the edge of the sea. He wanted to read and think and study the constellations. Having an encounter with a dragon was a rare event, but it could happen at night in Bruges. Lawrence always liked to sing. Thinking he was alone, he was singing in a loud and rather hammy fashion, the way we all like to show off when we're alone. A few verses in, he realized he was being accompanied by what at first he took for a pipe organ or a calliope, but was really the wordless singing of a baby canal dragon. Lawrence continued to sing, and so did the dragon. Lawrence had been singing in a silly way, but as he sang with the mythical creature, he began to sing with feeling. When the song ended, the baby dragon shyly circled the boat. It seemed to be waiting for something. Then, Lawrence had a sudden inspiration. A tourist's child had left their picture book in Lawrence's gondola earlier that day. Would the little dragon like to be read to, like any other child? "Would you like to hear a story?" Lawrence asked. The canal dragon swam closer to the boat. Lawrence keeps his favorite chair in the upstairs sitting room with the door closed on Sunday afternoons. He feels like he shouldn't know how picture books appear on the chair at dusk. He fears watching it might disrupt the magic of the process. But sometimes he imagines a glowing ball appearing above the chair. Inside the glowing ball, a book appears. It hovers there a moment before dropping down onto the seat of the chair. Lawrence will find it when he visits the room with his audience of unseen friends. Except for this weekly occurrence, Lawrence sees no evidence of his being a television personality, like Count Mummy said. But he finds himself believing it. Lawrence doesn't give it too much thought. He feels demanding too many answers would disrupt the magic. Lawrence and Count Mummy become friends and are frequent visitors to each other's houses. One evening, Lawrence decides to show Count Mummy the box of square dance records he found at the thrift store. Count Mummy is thunderstruck by them. "What mad poetry is this?" he exclaims, delighted. He's listening to the caller guiding the dancers through the music. "This music speaks to me, Lawrence. And look at these pictures. They have their own special clothing and cryptic language, a whole hidden world." Lawrence is tickled by the Count's enthusiasm. They listen to all the records. "Square dancing calls to me, even more than the waltzing werewolves or the bloodsucker ballet." Count Mummy is so enthralled that Lawrence insists he take the metal box home with him. Thursday night is house cleaning night. Lawrence has just gotten started when he gets a call from Leonard. He's on his way, but a bit off course. "What's happened?" asked Lawrence. "I left the church and headed toward the light I'd seen in the hills. I saw a sign that advertised good food, and I realized I was starving. It was a modest diner, and the staff was rude when I asked for directions. They wouldn't even tell me where I was. The menu said the soup of the day gave good advice. I wondered if it could tell me how to get to your house. But the soup wasn't able to help either. It ignored my question entirely. It only warned me to stick to the road and go no further into the hills. It said the hills were full of ghosts that would mislead me. I meant to follow the soup's instructions, but when I left the diner, I saw a brilliant beam of green light in the hills. What could it be, I wondered? I couldn't resist finding out. I could always return to the road after. The green light shot up into the sky and disappeared into the clouds. I walked and walked. It was farther away than I thought. There was only the sound of my shoes on the gravel, but I started to feel like I was being followed. I glimpsed shifty movements behind the rocks and the cactuses. I wished I had listened to the advice the soup had given. 3 luminous ghosts rose up from the rocky ground. They began to dance, staring at me all the while. Did they expect me to join them? At first, their movements were precise and graceful. But as they continued, their dance became wild and aggressive. They formed a circle around me and tugged at my clothing. One of them pulled my backpack off and taunted me with it. I thought I was in real trouble when suddenly I was rescued. A tall man in a hat appeared and chased the ghosts away. They vanished into the desert. Of course, I was glad to see them go. Unfortunately, they took my backpack with them. I thanked the man who'd helped me. He did not reply, but he was crackling with psychic energy. Was he a ghost or something else, I wondered. He pointed to the beam of light in the hills. It seemed like he was on his way to see it too. He turned and started walking. I hesitated, but then I joined him. I was certain he knew what that light was and what it was doing out there. We walked for what seemed like hours till we came to the source of the light. It was a spotlight of some sort embedded in the hard ground. The man in the hat made a complex series of movements with his hands, and weird glowing symbols appeared in the air. In response, a swarm of rectangular lights blinked on in the sky. The lights descended and gathered around us. I realized they were the lights of TV screens. There must have been hundreds of them. The man in the hat grabbed one and pushed it into the shimmering beam of the spotlight. The three ghosts reappeared. They began to dance again. This time the man in the hat did not chase them away. The ghosts showed no interest in me, and they did not have my backpack. They did as the tall man had done. They grabbed televisions and pushed them into the beam of light. I didn't understand what we were doing there, but the man in the hat helped me, so I decided to help him. I reached out for the nearest floating TV set and pushed it into the light. They looked heavy, but the televisions were light as daydreams. The televisions soared into the sky, much higher than they'd been when they first appeared. We worked all night, ushering them in. Lawrence's mail arrives just after dinner. Lawrence likes to collect it and have a cup of coffee as he looks it over. Sometimes he smokes a pipe while he looks at the mail. He's capable of looking very sophisticated. Of course, before he looks at the mail, he has to find his glasses. He receives an unusual letter. It has a stamp and Lawrence's name, but Lawrence's address is not on it. How did the postman deliver it? It reads, "My name is Caitlin, and I'm the creator of a new TV show called Counting with Caitlin. I was a big fan of your TV show, My Favorite Chair, when I was little." How curious. I remember Counting with Caitlin from when Leonard and I were cubs. She calls it a new show. Caitlin reports that she has been picking up broadcasts of My Favorite Chair on her television, though no local channels seem to be broadcasting it. It may be crazy writing to you like this, but I have good reason for trying. If you receive this letter, can you contact me and possibly help me figure out what's going on? Caitlin says she runs a flower shop in Nectarville, a town a few hours away. Lawrence reads the letter a second time. More of this television business, he observes. Lawrence thinks about the letter all evening. The world is perplexing. It's filled with so many things he'll never understand. He can't get to sleep. He wonders if some night air will help calm his thoughts. He slides open the glass door to his back porch. He makes a pleasant discovery in the backyard. Batas really exist. He sees them hovering by the torch lilies. Just like in the book, he watches the glowing batas at work. Lawrence hears something scuffling and shuffling on the other side of the fence. Someone's out on the sidewalk. Who'd be out at this hour? Why, it's one of Count Mummy's blorgs. It looks like the giant blorg is trying to dance. The blorg looks confused. It's waving its arms around clumsily. Lawrence decides to coax it back to the movie mausoleum. I'm surprised it's out on a Saturday night, Lawrence thinks. Who will run the projector? The basketball hoop, whose name is Hoopty, scolds the blorg as they walk past it. Count Mummy opens the door. There you are, you wretch. Thank you, Lawrence, for bringing Blorg 1 home. I tried to teach the blorgs to square dance, but the rules are beyond them. They end up blocks from here when they try. Blorg 3 is still missing. I was hoping they'd help me practice some square dancing moves. I long to experience a part of that world. It's so different from my own, which can be joyless and unforgiving. Remember the first time you were here? The place was full. Tonight, where is everyone? But sit down. Blorg 2 made popcorn. Greetings, my curious connoisseurs of cinematic sacrilege. Tonight I have a truly terrifying treat. Prepare yourself for the Vengeful Spleen. Count Mummy says there is a television show called Our Town Hoedown that he'd like to watch, but I can never tune it in. Lawrence suggests the Count watch it at his place, and they make plans for its next broadcast. Lawrence is going to drive to Nectarville to visit the creator of Counting with Caitlin. It's a few hours' drive, but Lawrence still has the little car he'd had in Bruges. He leaves early in the morning before the sun comes up. He thinks as he drives. Count Mummy has told Lawrence that the mysteries of television are woven into the very fabric of existence. This thought does not trouble him, but he sensed the uneasiness behind the letter he'd received from Caitlin Kingsley. Lawrence remembers Counting with Caitlin well. Caitlin celebrated each new day of the year. He and Leonard were just cubs when they sat in front of the television, celebrating the number of the day with her. Each season of the show began with day 1 and counted upward to 365, the last day of the year. Caitlin was a real, living tiger, but she also appeared on the show in an animated form. Sidekick Pig started each show by introducing the number of the day in a fun and surprising way. Lawrence remembered Sidekick Pig in an airplane, dropping bundles of papers with the number 33 printed on them. They fluttered down to the ground where Caitlin was waiting. The number of the day is 33, she announced. The sun is just starting to rise when Lawrence reaches Nectarville. The shops aren't open yet, but Lawrence sees all the things he enjoys in town. He sees coffee shops and bakeries and bookshops. He locates Caitlin's flower shop. It's not quite open yet, but he hears someone inside, getting things ready. And a thought occurs to him. Should he have phoned ahead? Lawrence expected that Caitlin would be a little old lady tiger by now, but she looks exactly the same as he remembered her. She's surprised, but pleased that her letter found its way to him. She invites him into the back room of the shop for morning tea. He tells her he watched her show as a cub. How can that be when I'm not even through producing its first season? Caitlin says she got a letter herself before writing to Lawrence from a little girl who wrote it decades ago. She told me she loved counting with Caitlin. The letter had a stamp and my name on it, but no address, just like the one I sent to you. How could they have both watched each other's shows as children? They discuss the situation into the afternoon. The talk becomes rather esoteric, and Lawrence thinks this might be more in Leonard's wheelhouse than in his. Lawrence says he always enjoyed the imaginative way numbers were presented on Counting with Caitlin. My brother liked it when Sidekick Pig flew around in his airplane, Lawrence tells her. We never thought of Sidekick Pig as a puppet, he says. To us, he was as real as anyone else. Caitlin tells him how much his show meant to her as well. I used to sing your theme song along with you. She sings the opening line. Sundays are good in my world. Lawrence joins in. Friends stop in, time goes by, I sing a song or two. They both feel a little embarrassed after finishing the song. Caitlin shows Lawrence her workshop. It's Sidekick Pig, Lawrence says, delighted. Actually, there are lots of Sidekick Pig puppets in costumes and various sizes. He is impressed by how much work goes into making Counting with Caitlin. How do you make your show? Caitlin asks. Is it filmed on a set, or are you actually in your own house? It's not filmed at all. My favorite chair is actually magic. I have no idea where the picture books I read come from. That's impossible, says Caitlin, but I believe you. My granny had a magic sofa in her house. Every full moon it sprouted flowers. Back home, Count Mummy arrives to watch the Our Town Hoedown on Lawrence's television, but Lawrence can't tune it in either. The Count is disappointed. Life's mysteries are many, but the mysteries of broadcasting are perhaps the most confounding, he says. Lawrence has an idea. The Hoedown is filmed live at City Hall. Next week, why don't we visit it in person? Lawrence and Caitlin's meeting had resulted in more questions than answers. They continued the conversation in a series of several telephone calls. Caitlin works hard producing new episodes of her show. The TV station that broadcasts Counting with Caitlin is a completely ordinary station with nothing magical about it. Sometimes Caitlin sees a mysterious broadcasting tower in her dreams. Lawrence has seen the same tower in his dreams. Lawrence asks Caitlin if she would like to join him and Count Mummy at the Hoedown. She says she would love to. Lawrence looks forward to the Hoedown more than ever, though he can't imagine himself dancing. The night before the Hoedown, he finds it hard to get to sleep. Caitlin arrives with cowboy hats and Western clothing she's used as costumes on her show. She has a special hat for Count Mummy. He is thrilled with it. He stuffs his bandaged hair, or are those ears, into the tall hat, and the three are ready to go. You're very thoughtful, Miss Kingsley. Count Mummy enthuses about his new passion all the way to City Hall. Lawrence notices the shift from his usual talk of rampaging monsters and hungry ghouls. Soon they are climbing the steps of City Hall. It's all lit up, but they see no one as they approach the big doors. They are disappointed to see a sign on the top step. Closed set. No visitors. Watch us on TV. Oh no, we won't be able to dance tonight, says Caitlin. But maybe we can watch through the windows. They hear a slow country waltz playing. They follow the music to a side window, and right away they notice something surprising about the square dancers. "They're in black and white," Lawrence whispers, "just as they appear on TV." This seems to mean something to Count Mummy, but he doesn't say what. Count Mummy is mesmerized. Look at them. They move with the smoothness and precision of the guillotine. How wonderful it must feel. They watch the show until the lights abruptly go out. When the lights come on, there is no one in City Hall. Caitlin is ready for the drive back to Nectarville. Count Mummy was so disappointed not to get inside. And the dancers, what sort of people were they? Another television mystery, Lawrence says. Count Mummy seems at home with a lot of things most folks would consider supernatural. I think he realized something when he saw the dancers, but I'm not sure he wants to share what he knows, even with his friends. He's changed since he discovered square dancing, and I don't think he's as interested in his movie mausoleum as he used to be.
Now promenade, that dear little thing, and a promenade around the ring while the roosters crow and the birdies sing. Now first couple bow, and now you swing. Now lead to the right and circle four and round you go. And break it up.
Winter is coming. Count Mummy continues to watch the hoedown through the window each week, but admittance is never allowed. One evening, Lawrence invites the Count to his backyard to look at the batas, but he finds them terrifying. "Ghastly creatures, keep them away." Unbeknownst to Lawrence, Count Mummy confronts the bird that's always taking Lawrence's glasses. He gives the bird a good scare and tells him to leave Lawrence's glasses alone. The Count tells Lawrence that attendance at Movie Mausoleum is dropping. The Blorgs are growing listless and unresponsive. They're more like puppets now than living creatures. Aside from Saturday nights, they barely move at all. My days are numbered. Hoopty has fallen into a deep funk. His net sags lower every day. Lawrence doesn't hear from Count Mummy for a while. Then he gets a phone call. Would Lawrence meet him on the steps of City Hall just before the hoedown begins? "I'm leaving, Lawrence," he says without preamble. "The movie mausoleum is no more. I'm going to join the hoedown. I've enjoyed our talks. I wish you happiness and good ratings." "Why do you think they'll open the door for you tonight?" Lawrence asks. He only says, "I'll miss you, Lawrence, but who knows? Perhaps we'll see each other on TV." Count Mummy walks to the entrance of City Hall and taps on the glass. As he predicted, a square dancer unlocks the door and lets him in. Days pass till it's Sunday evening again. Lawrence sings his song and reads a new picture book. This time, though, he doesn't have to search for his glasses. The next day, he walks past the movie mausoleum. It's vacant and someone's put a for sale sign on it. The Blorgs are nowhere in sight. Hoopty is an ordinary, faceless basketball hoop. In Nectarville, Caitlin makes repairs to a sidekick pig puppet before filming a new episode of Counting with Caitlin. Lawrence thinks about the way Leonard's strange encounter in the desert had ended. Leonard woke up lying in the sand. The man in the hat and the 3 ghosts were gone. Leonard's backpack was beside him, though its contents were scattered about in the dirt. Leonard headed back to the road. He saw another signpost. One arrow pointed to Lawrence's house. But he'd been right about those lights in the hills being UFOs. They beamed him up onto their spacecraft. They'd seen him wandering and wondered if he needed help. And they offered him a ride to Lawrence's house, but they asked Leonard if he'd mind a short trip to the moon first. Leonard makes friends so easily, Lawrence muses as he prepares for bed. When he does get here, I'm sure he'll have lots of stories to tell me.